How would you like this guy to control artificial intelligence and your children?
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to participate for the 8th time at this important meeting, even if only in a virtual way.
That's right, Klaus Schwab and his central planning authoritarian Malthusian cult member buddies at the World Economic Forum have actually come out with a toolkit for artificial intelligence and your children. Starting off in true global elite form, we have this super creepy image of some kid that looks like he's plugged into the Matrix. And trust me, this is not the last time that they achieve creep level 1000 in this report, as you can imagine. So their toolkit starts by saying children and youth are surrounded by AI in many of the products they use in their daily lives, from social media to education, technology, video games, smart toys, and speakers. AI determines the videos children watch online, their curriculum as they learn, and the way they play and interact with others. So it's basically programming, or it has the ability to program your children. And they want the ability to influence the companies that are basically programming your kids. They go on to say AI can be used to educate and empower children and youth and have a positive impact on society. And see, here's where we start to go down that slippery slope, because their version of having a positive impact, trust me, is not your version or your vision of having a positive impact on the world. We have to remember that the World Economic Forum is basically a Malthusian cult. And what I mean by that, their two main objectives are to reduce energy use and to reduce population. This is their vision of what is positive. So this is what they want to impose through artificial intelligence on your children. Basically, their dream come true is if every young person in the entire world turned out to be Greta Thunberg.
How dare you?
And if they could just leverage the power of artificial intelligence, what an incredible world that would be. So if we dive into their toolkit even further, we come to this part that talks about emotional and developmental harm. They say adults have a responsibility to confirm that material shown to children is directed towards their well-being and flourishing. But again, we come across the same problem, that how are they defining well-being and flourishing? And is it the same way that you would define those terms? Let's remember for a moment that one of the most influential people at the World Economic Forum in terms of artificial intelligence and the future is Noah Harari. So just imagine for a moment that this person was in charge of determining what's best for your child. Editor, cut to the clip.
We've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution.
Let's continue on, and you can see their woke agenda or woke opinions start coming to the surface. Something as obvious as giving female identifying users. Okay. Flower patterns, not bulldozers, for their avatars' clothes is a risk to a children's sense of personal identity and enforces potentially harmful societal norms and standards. Okay, so I don't really even understand what they're saying here, but if I try to sift this through, you've got a child that may or may not be biologically male or female, but they identify as a female, but they don't like flowers. They like bulldozers instead. So I'm confused. But I guess that's par for the course when you're dealing with this woke type of ideology that they're going to try to shove down your kids' throats using artificial intelligence. I mean, let's be honest. That's basically what this toolkit is all about. And here are the 5 main points to this toolkit that the World Economic Forum is basically using to try to influence corporations and therefore influence the development of your children. We got fair, inclusive, responsible, safe, transparent. But I want to focus on inclusive because you hear this a lot from the Klaus Schwab types. And it's this word that really has, or it's very vague and it's tough to quantify. And if we produced things that were more inclusive, well, how would you even measure that? You see, editor, let's cut to this clip of Klaus Schwab using this specific language, which I think is the key to this entire video.
Thank you to His Excellency for enabling this initiative to define a longer-term narrative to make the world more resilient, more inclusive, and more sustainable.
So why would they have these overgeneralized, completely vague objectives? Because there's no way to measure them. You can't measure the problem. Therefore, you can't measure if we're getting close to the problem being solved. Therefore, the only answer is to give them, the global elite, the central planners, the authoritarians, more and more power. Let's think about this. Just look at the United States. We've had the war on terror. What does that even mean? The war on poverty. How are we doing on that war, by the way? And let's just assume that we were making progress. Well, how would you measure that? And do you think the government would ever come to the point where they're like, okay, we can go ahead and dismantle that portion of the government or those entities because we've achieved our objectives? We've won the war on poverty. No, we can never win that war. And that's the point. If you can never win the war, and in fact, if winning the war is completely impossible to measure, then again, it means that we have to continue to fight and fight and fight. And the only way you can fight is to give the central planners more power and to give up more of your personal freedom and liberty. And in this case, the only way to achieve our objectives is to use artificial intelligence to control the minds of your children. I think this tweet from Mark Andreessen sums it up perfectly. The storyline keeps changing. Terrorism, climate, pandemic, and now AI risk. But somehow the proposed solution remains the same. Total centralization of control by a single global government. And this is what it's all about. The Malthusian cult, otherwise known as the World Economic Forum, can come out with all these toolkits to try to make it seem they're influencing corporations for the benefit of your child. But what you need to understand is they are a wolf in sheep's clothing. And it is true that they're trying to influence corporations to use artificial intelligence for ways that they deem appropriate. But what they deem appropriate is for your child to adopt their woke Malthusian ideology as they stay at home all day long just playing video games and doing drugs.
And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games. Keep them happy with drugs and computer games.